Very good afternoon to all of you and a very warm welcome to. My name is Sydney and I'm the Executive Director of CFA Society Malaysia. Before we start on our webinar on building an agile future with CFA program and the Investment Foundation certificate, I would like to quickly touch on the housekeeping part. Today's session will take about an hour, including the sharing plus the Q&A session. Please ensure your mics are on mute throughout the session. Don't worry. We do welcome comments along the way in the chat box. This session is also a recorded one, and we will be sharing the recording with you. The agenda for today is an overview of CFA Institute as well as CFA Society Malaysia by yours truly. I will also touch a bit on how the CFA program can add value to your career journey. Then I will be passing on the mic to our speaker of today, Mr. Chong Jin Yong, which I shall introduce shortly. He will touch on the overview of CFA program and Investment Foundation certificate. And then I will just cover quickly on the various study resources and materials that can be available to you. Thereafter, we will continue with the Q&As should you have any questions along the way. Okay, so it is with great pleasure for me to introduce to you our speaker for today, Mr. Chong Jin Yong, who is a CFA charter holder and is the president of CFA Society Malaysia. Jin Yong is also the managing director and principal trainer of August Learning, a company that specializes in education for the financial industry. He is the former head of structured products team in AmBank's global market. He also plays an active role with the Asian Institute of Chartered Bankers, AICB, formerly known as IBBM, in various capacities as an examiner, textbook author, and trainer. For the following examination programs, which are Charter Banker, Persaran Kewangan Malaysia Certificate, Investor Protection Professional Certification. Jin Yong himself graduated from the University of Malaya with a Bachelor of Engineering. That's right, you heard it right, engineering, and was awarded the PKMC with distinction. Now I shall run through with all of you an overview of CFA Institute as well as CFA Society Malaysia. CFA Institute is the global non-for-profit association of investment professionals that set the standards for professional excellence since 1947. Its mission is to lead the investment profession globally by promoting the highest standards of ethics, education, and professional excellence for the ultimate benefit of society. Globally, they have a very large network and connectivity with 190,000 plus CFA charter holders, where 25,000 firms employ these charter holders. And they also have 650 plus affiliated universities with over 160 societies around the world, where Malaysia is one of them. The programs by CFA Institute are recognized by 60 plus regulators in 40 plus markets. Thus, they have been positively impacting the investment profession since 1947, over 75 years. Where Malaysia is concerned, our society has been around for over 25 years, with the vision to foster an investment community that is based on trust, ethics, and sustainable practices that is valued by the society. Our mission is very much aligned to CFA Institute to be achieved through our four pillars, I beg your pardon, which are operational excellence, develop future professionals, develop member values, and build market integrity. Here in Malaysia, we also have a large network and connectivity with 900 plus CFA charter holders, where 250 firms employ these charter holders. We also have our employer recognition program running in its third year now with 20 employer partners on board, where out of these 20, 12 are recognized employer partners and 8 are premium employer partners. We also have about 2,000 candidates right now who are embarking on the CFA program journey, and we have 16 affiliated universities. Okay. Now we'll share with all of you how the CFA program adds value to your future finance career. The CFA Charter is one of the most respected designations in finance and is widely considered to be the gold standard in the field of investment analysis. I repeat, as it is worth repeating, that the gold standards, which is the CFA Charter, sets the professional standard as the most highly respected designation for the investment in management profession. So why do I dare to say that this is the gold standards? The next 9 slides will illustrate why. Okay. So if you don't already know, CFA Institute conducts surveys regularly. And one of them is more so to the candidates that's taking the CFA program. So one of the surveys that they have done over the years, asking these candidates how relevant the curriculum is to them. 95% and above of these candidates agreed that the curriculum focuses on concepts that are important to their profession. On the right-hand side of this slide, you will see that the chart indicates the compensation differences for financial advisors. And this data show us that with the CFA designation, the compensation is generally higher than the other available designations out there. The next slide will show you the versatility of a CFA charter holders from a global to a local level. So on a global level, on the typical jobs that one would have. So at a global level, you will see that up the list, portfolio manager, 19%, with the research investment quantitative analyst, 15%, consultant, 6%, and then you have your financial advisor, planner, and wealth, 5%. So on the Malaysia context, on the right-hand side, you will see that we are very much aligned to the global level, with the top two being 17% and consultant and financial advisor 5% and 3%. Moving on, the list of a typical jobs that one charter holder would have, you will see the risk analyst, manager, corporate finance analyst being 5%, investment strategist and trader. Similarly for Malaysia, however, you would see that corporate finance analyst stands out more with 7%, while the remaining other typical jobs is about 4%. Okay, this slide continues with the comparison from a global versus a local on the primary investment focus. And the data showing that Malaysia is also very much aligned to global, with equities being the top, then fixed income, private equity, derivatives, real estate, structured products, and then venture capital. Okay. So this slide shows the top employers of the CFA charter holders at a global level. And you will notice the big names like HSBC, Citigroup, and even the two of the big four, the EY and PwC. Where Malaysia is concerned, here you will also see a lot of big names. And what you see on this slide, it shows you the 20 employer partners that I mentioned earlier under our existing employer recognition program. So yeah, we have most of the big guns here that you would, in fact, you would recognize most of this. All right, so moving on. This next 3 slides will show you more of the benefits to our CFA charter holders locally, whereby one will get professional certification waivers or exemptions. And if you need to take the Securities Commission Capital Market Services Representative licenses, which is the CMSRL for your line of work, you'll be glad to know, depending on the regulated activities that is being conducted, you'll be glad to know the CFA charter holder are waived from 4 out of the 13 modules of the examinations for the CMSRL, which are module 7, 10, 12, and 14. Moving on, for the CFP title, which is the Certified Financial Planner, FPAM offers an exemption to CFA charter holders that they are waived from 3 out of the 4 modules to obtain that title, which is a professional certification program which are useful for one who wishes to be valued as a financial planner, quality trainers, lecturers, and financial intermediaries. Hence, module 1, 2, and 3 are waived. So you just need to sit for the module 4 and you'll be able to get the title. Another good news as well, if you want to embark to be a chartered banker one day, if you have the CFA charter, all you need to do is you go to AICB and you apply to enroll directly to the Chartered Banker Level 3 qualifications, sit for these 2 modules, and you will become a chartered banker without going through the whole long process. So this sums up the value add for the CFA program. And now you can hear directly from the horse's mouth. But before Jin Yong shares his journey, that he will be running through with you first an overview of the CFA program, and then as well as the newly launched Investment Foundation certificate. If you have any questions, please do input them in the chat box and we will answer them during the Q&A session. I leave all of you in good hands now of Jin Yong. Jin Yong, all yours.
Thank you, Sydney. So let me just get hold of the screen. And okay, I think I'm in control. Or am I? Okay. All right. So, yay, we got the first question. So we'll answer that question as we go along. But before that, I'd just like to ask everyone in here, how many of you now, after hearing the why, the value of the program, how many of you intend to take the CFA exam? That includes folks who are already signed up for the CFA program. If you want to take the program or enroll in the program, key in one. This is also to make sure that it's not a bot that is recording this session and you are really here with us. Key in one, if you do intend to take the exam. So it's pretty quiet. I don't see anyone hitting the key number 1. Thank you, one up. So only one person is here. The rest are all bots. Now, again, I just hope none of you have clicked that suspicious looking link, right? Thank you, Ira and Branson, Hazik. All right, great. So at least I know there are some humans still in this webinar. Thank you. Right, so let me proceed further. So what is the CFA program, right? My name is Jin Yong, and I'm the president of the CFA Society of Malaysia. So if the why wasn't enough to convince you, maybe you need to know a bit more, perhaps. What is this CFA charter? What is this CFA program all about, right? So what is it? It's a exam-oriented program. It has 3 levels, and what it does is that it essentially tests the candidates of the exam on the fundamentals of these 4 key things: the investment tools, and using the investment tools, how do you value assets? Assets in all the different asset classes you may have seen earlier: fixed income, equities, derivatives, and by being able to value assets, you're able to construct portfolio. And of course, the ultimate aim is that it all goes towards wealth planning and wealth management. So that is what the exam is all about in a nutshell. Secondly, who is it for, right? So we are covering 2 different programs today. So the first one, of course, being the CFA program. After all, our society and also the global body, CFA is named after this program. It is our flagship program. And it is actually for, first and foremost, the investment industry practitioners. So the people who work in the fund management industry, the asset managers, the pension funds, the sovereign wealth funds of the world, right? That's number 1. Number 2, students. Why do I put student as number 2? Is because over the years, increasingly, you have seen more and more students form the bulk of the candidates who take the exam. Now, why that is so is because all these students recognize that this qualification adds a lot to their CV. It's a tough job market out there, and whatever they can do to actually increase the value of their CV, of the resume, right? That's something that's worth doing, and the CFA program is definitely one of them. The third group of people, professionals looking to switch careers, switch jobs. Now, switch careers here actually means switching industry. And I myself is a classic example of that. I think earlier Sydney mentioned that I graduated with a bachelor's degree in engineering. And actually I started off my working life in the IT world, information technology, the tech world. And now, what am I doing here, right? So CFA was what actually enabled me to switch from that into banking and finance. So you can think of it as a stepping stone, as a ticket, right? For those of you here who may not necessarily be in the finance industry or in the investment decision-making role, this is one way, or this is a roadmap that can allow you to switch your career. And of course, last but not least, for anyone looking to start a career in the investment management space. So yeah, these are the 4 key groups of people that this program is for. Now, what is required to actually get that CFA Charter, Chartered Financial Analyst designation? As I mentioned, there's 3 levels of exam. I'll just talk about level 1 here for today, because I would assume everyone who's here today, you have not, I think there's some of you have signed up for it, so probably you may know about this, but I think the majority of you would like to know a bit more about the exam. So before you even go to exam, what do you need to do to prepare for the exam? Over the years, we have done surveys to see how much time and resources that the candidates have spent to prepare for each level, each of the 3 levels. And it's quite consistent that most of the candidates, they use roughly 300 hours of study to prepare for each level of the exam. So what is 300 hours? You can do the math yourself. What is 300 hours over the course of 4 to 5 months of preparation? So that's typically the duration in which the candidates actually use to actually prepare for the exam. There is one question, I think, from one of you who actually asked, what is the best study regime or structure if you happen to be working at the same time? So here's the thing. This program, from the inception, it has always been designed as a program that is meant for folks who are already working and wishes to enhance their qualification, enhance their knowledge. So it is actually definitely doable to prepare for this program and also still work full-time. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's definitely doable. And of course, I think Sydney will also go through some of the tools that will be available to you in order to assist you in studying for this. There is this thing called a learning ecosystem. But what I just want to say is that, yes, you can definitely do that. It's just that you have to be prepared to sacrifice a lot of your weekends in order to sit for the exam. Even myself, when I took up this program, I was still working full-time, right? So 300 hours per level. And once you have prepared well enough, you go for the exam. It's computer-based, so there's a lot more flexibility in terms of the timing of the exam. Unlike in the past, some of you may have heard, before MCO, before the pandemic, this used to be a paper-based exam, and everyone goes to a test center to sit in the exam hall in the conventional way, right? So there's only one date, right? Whereas now, although it's mentioned here, 4 exams offered yearly, there's actually a window. So what happens is that you can actually choose dates for you to actually take the exam at the computer test center. And what kind of questions? At this level, at level 1, they're all MCQ, or what we call multiple choice questions. This is actually spread out across 2 sessions, 2 135-minute sessions. So that comes up to about all in about a day, I would say, right? And each of the session 1 will be 90 questions, and session 2 another 90 questions. So that's the exam format. And I think you'll be more interested to know, hey, what exactly is in the syllabus? I'm just putting out numbers here, 57 readings, 10 topics. So what are those 10 topics? So here's the syllabus, right? We start off with ethics, ethical and professional standards. That has always been the foundation, the core of the program, where we always feel that it doesn't matter if you are able to do a proper valuation of derivatives of the most complex option, if you don't have the ethical and professional standards that go along with it. A lot of problems that you see in the financial markets, the financial crisis, a lot of it can be traced back to the ethics, or rather the lack of ethics and professional standards in the people who deal with it, right? Hence, that's why that is at the core of our syllabus. Not just in level 1, although here I'm showing you the level 1 topics, it cuts across all 3 levels. So ethics is the first one. Quantitative methods. So these are things like the statistical tools that you need to use, that you need to learn. Time value of money, discounting. Then, of course, following with that, we have economics, financial statement analysis. And by the way, the first 4 topics are what is covered in the first session of the exam. And those are the tools that you actually will use in the second part of the exam, the second half of the exam, whereby you use that to be able to do a valuation of all the different asset classes, shares or equity, bonds or fixed income, derivatives, and then alternative investments. And then, of course, we round that all up with portfolio management, how you put all that together, how do you construct a portfolio that is well diversified, that reduces the risk while maximizing return across all the different asset classes. So that's the syllabus. What's next then? I just thought I'd do something different this time around. I'm sure all of you have heard of this, I won't call it a person, right? We shouldn't call it a person. It is, after all, still a program. But what does ChatGPT thinks about this program? So let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Of course, this is recorded, right? But you can always try that on your own, in your own, if you want to open your own ChatGPT session and ask the same question. So some of the things that are mentioned in there are some of the things that I may have also mentioned earlier, but there's actually a reason why I decided to actually give a spotlight to ChatGPT as well. I think we all know that AI has now reached a level where it is actually possible to take over some of the roles that in the past you need a human to do that, right? I know we're just talking about bots just now, the fear of having a bot and then the link that you may have received in the chat group, right? So then how does the CFA program, how do the charter holders view this potential threat to their careers, right? And that's also the reason why the CFA program is actually, has always been the gold standard. You saw that earlier, all these years, right? At the top here, you see there's the first reason is the rigorous curriculum. Oh, I'm supposed to advance a slide, right? Sorry. Now, the CFA program's curriculum is not static, right? It is updated every year. And I believe the only year it didn't update was during the 2 pandemic years. And that was because exams were postponed, cancelled. So they actually made a decision for those who can't take the exam, they will just maintain the syllabus. So that was the only time that the syllabus wasn't updated on a yearly basis. All other years, it's always updated to ensure that the syllabus stays relevant to what's happening in the market, right? And what you see on screen is I picked up a few of the topics, right? And that is in the current version, the 2023 version of the syllabus. ESG, right? So of course, ESG is now on everyone's mind when you make an investment, right? When you provide money to the investee, when you lend, when you invest, where does that money go to? There are the social concerns, there are the environmental concerns, there's the governance concerns. And it's no longer just, oh, how much can I get from, how much return can I get from that, right? Because that's one. What about fintech, right? What about blockchain? By the way, you might have seen this term here, DLT, right? That's distributed ledger. And that's how, that is a foundation in which how blockchain actually functions. So this is also covered in the CFA program, in the CFA syllabus, right? Because all these new developments will change how this industry functions, how the people who work in the industry still be able to add value. So that also, of course, includes AI, right? And so here you see the other additional topics inside the fintech and investment management. Again, this is taken on from the level 1 syllabus itself. So even within level 1, you will cover topics like cryptocurrency, right? Where of course the foundation is blockchain. You cover things like machine learning, and that's how ChatGPT is able to give all those answers because they have access to huge amount of training data. And all this is actually used now itself in the industry. So the CFA syllabus keeps itself current and relevant to exactly what is happening in the industry. I just saw a comment from Mira. Several of us use it to study for level 3 CFA written response. Okay, I have never actually thought of it from that perspective, using it as a study tool, right? So, I mean, that's great. The idea is these tools are supposed to assist us in what we are trying to do, right? If it replaces some of the more tedious stuff that we had done in the past, better, over and better, right? So you saw this slide earlier, and it bears repeating only simply because why do I consider it gold standard? It's a gold standard because it is recognized around the world. It is recognized in the industry itself, and that's very important. You want to take a qualification that is recognized, right? And again, I would like to share my own example. I graduated with a degree in electrical engineering. I worked in the IT field for quite a number of years before I switched. And the main reason I was able to switch was because I took the CFA program before applying for a job in the bank. And the person who recruited me actually said that, oh, yeah, I see that you have the CFA charter. No, sorry. At that point in time, I only passed all the exams. I haven't got a charter yet. So I said, yep. That shows that I have the understanding and also the ability to know how the market works. And that's how I got my first job in the banking world. Right? So as you can see, the last quote there, those 3 letters give you an edge over other graduates on the job market. And this is why we see a lot of students are the ones that are taking the exam. So it's not just the young working adults. The final year students are now already signing up for the exam. So if the students who are going to be potentially your competitor in the job market are already taking the exam, well, you better be prepared yourself. So that's on the CFA program. The next one is this thing called the Investment Foundation Certificate, right? So this is a new program, new in a sense, because we actually relaunched it. And I think one of you here actually asked, how does this differ? How does this program differ from the CFA charter itself, right? So, next slide, sorry. Who is the target audience? Now, you will see that the target audience here is broader, right? And the thing is, yes, folks that make investment decisions, the fund manager, the research analyst, right? So those folks are, of course, very important. They play a very important role in the investment management industry, in a fund manager, in an asset management firm, in a sovereign wealth fund, right? But that's not the only people that works in the industry. You have all these other people that actually are part of that organization, right? That supports the organization's role. For example, legal, right? In my day job, I deal a lot with legal people. We do actually have to look through legal agreements and all that. And of course, the lawyers, they will also need to know, they also need to understand the terms used in the financial markets, right? What's a strike price? Yeah, say strike price of an option. What does it mean by strike? Right? What is a call? What's a put? And of course, those are very basic, right? But these are terms, terminologies, concepts that not just the person making investment decision need to know, right? But the people supporting it need to know. So the lawyers, the marketing folks, the ones that do the publicity that comes up with the promotional campaign, right? The operational folks. So you have all this, yeah, even the IT, right? Because a lot of tech is now used. Paper is old school. That's why we don't even have paper-based exam anymore, right? So even the people who work in the IT side of the business, in the banks or in the asset management firm, they need to know what are the terms being used. What does it mean by sell side, buy side, right? Who's a trustee? Why is there this entity called trustee? What is their role in, let's say, a bond issuance, right? So all this information is what is covered in this program, right? As you can see, this group of people, right, they need to understand how the industry is structured. They need to understand their vocabulary use. What does it mean when you say, oh, this is a product that is traded on an exchange versus, oh, this is an OTC instrument, right? It's traded over the counter, right? So there's you have credit risk when you trade over the counter on an OTC basis. So that's one example. An understanding of the different job roles in the industry. So they need to know, oh, what is a buy side, sell side? Again, just now I mentioned, why is there a trustee involved, right? What's the function of a clearing house, right? And then also, of course, foundational concepts. So they don't necessarily need to know how to measure the duration of a bond, but they need to know at least, hey, when I'm looking at a bond, how do I actually do a valuation on that? Oh, there's this thing called YTM, yield to maturity. So this is also something that's covered in there. And of course, point number 4, you saw again, overview of the ethical considerations relevant to the industry. Again, because we feel very strongly about the need for ethics to be practiced in the industry, right, to prevent future crises. I mean, crisis will come, the problems will flare up, right, but this is where it provides the guardrails, right, for the people who work, the practitioners, to make sure they know what is right and wrong. And then, of course, all this put together allows all these other people to work as a team with the fund manager, with the analysts, right, with the treasury dealer, so they know what they are talking about, right? So, what are the topics covered in this program? Right? It's spread out across 6 different chapters, and just go through. I think I already went through a few of them. You will see that they are actually mirror the CFA program to a certain extent, but of course, this is at a much higher level. When I say higher level, so it's at the more fundamental levels. So, for instance, in the equity side, in the CFA program, you obviously be doing valuations. What are the tools, the methodology that you use to value shares? Is it using net book value, or is it asset based, or is it on a relative basis using PE ratios? Right? So over here, it goes towards more understanding what is a share in the first place. It's proportionate ownership of a company, right? So that's the different level in which the investment foundation versus the CFA program actually differs. Now, what about the needs, or what is needed to actually get this particular cert, right? So this is a certificate, unlike the CFA program, which is actually a charter. So you saw the 6 chapters, or what they call 6 courses, and this is roughly 1/3 in terms of the time and resource required. So you probably need, depending on your familiarity with some of the concepts in there, between 60 to 90, I would say 60 to 100 hours. So that's why I say it's about 1/3. So some of the folks who are already working in the industry, they already have an exposure to a lot of the concepts, the ideas, the processes. So probably they'll need less time, right? And the thing is, this is a self-paced program. You sign up, you have 12 months to complete it. So if you can proceed faster, well, then you can go and sit for the exam. It's an online-based exam, by the way, right? And it is all done, the studying can be done through what is known as the learning ecosystem. So it's web-based. There are a lot of tools available in there that include things like videos, practice questions. I think everyone is always asking for practice questions when it comes to exams, right? So that will allow you to prepare for the exam at the end of that, right? Before the 12 months is up. So this is a screenshot of the learning ecosystems where one example. So it has more interactivity so that it allows you to be able to understand some of the concepts better. So for example, here they're looking at, what is this? This is the balance sheet. So what are the items inside the balance sheet, the line items? What are they about, right? So this will help to aid the candidates in the studying process. And yeah, so that's a quick overview of the CFA program and the investment foundation. Oops. Let me just hand the floor back to, yeah. So yeah, that's all on my side.
Okay, thank you very much, Jin Yong. Your insight to the ChatGPT gave me ideas. If there's no questions later, we can also use that to how to help back the audience. Okay, before we start the Q&A session, please allow me to share with all of you the additional study resources and materials that CFA Society have prepared for everyone. So our website is, of course, available 24/7 for one to learn more about our initiatives in building stronger relationship with all our key stakeholders. So you can see on the slides is these are all the stakeholders that the society works for literally. And then of course you get to see all the collaborations that we do with institutional people out there or advocacy that would like to promote the same kind of values that we do, and then upcoming webinars. And then at the website, you will also have a FAQ section where the team at the society have compiled a set of questions and queries that aims to provide a helping hand throughout your journey to becoming a CFA charter holder, in terms of not just the programs that we have shared with you, the computer-based testing exam format, membership, and even the new certificates that has come up by the institute itself. At the same time, we also have our YouTube channel, where you can hear directly from our society and CFA charter holders to get insightful information and recommendations on embarking your journey to pursuing a CFA charter. During the pandemic, in the lockdowns, the team at the society was really working hard for all of you. They created all this content because they saw the need. So you don't have to like call us, even like today's recording session, it will be available at the website. You can go and search there. Yeah, but of course, you are more than welcome to give us a call also. Yeah, so you will have insight to the full webinars, recording playlists to get all the information of the recent industry trends. Okay, so now we will have the Q&A session to address all your queries. So now is the time, whatever you have on your, what Jin Yong has shared, what I have shared, and what you have seen so far. But I think, Jin Yong, you mentioned one earlier, right? There was a question, yeah, by HY Ing. If you have passed the level 1 and 2, which papers of the CMRS license is waived? Okay, I can answer that. Unfortunately, none. You need to be a CFA charter holder to get that CFA before you get this any 4 of the modules which is relevant to you waived.
Just to add a bit more to that question is that I presume you're referring to the SC licensing exams. So I think all the SC licensing exam always consists of 2 modules that you have to take. One is regulatory, which is all the laws and all that. And the other one is the technical bit, for example, module 6 and 7. So the one that is waived, if you are charter holder, is obviously the technical one. right? Because laws are different across different countries, right? Whereas a bond is a bond, whether it's in Malaysia or it's in the US or it's in Japan. So the one that is waived is the one that focuses on the technical bit of it.
Okay, we have another question from Azlia. What is your advice on the gap period to resit the exam? I think this one I'll let Jin Yong answer, but yeah.
I think keep the gap as short as possible, as long as you're still motivated enough. Why? Is because if the longer you stop, the harder it is to restart, and then you start forgetting things. I mean, I'm sure you always heard of people saying, once you finish the exam, then you start emptying your brain, right? So it's always best to keep the gap period as short as possible. But of course, some of us may need to take a break, and maybe sometimes that's also a good choice. So it depends on individuals. And I think this question applies also to folks who, instead of resitting, they are thinking of when I pass level 1, when should I take level 2, right? So some people immediately signs up for next level. Some people say, I need to take a break. So it depends on individual preferences. Personally, I try to do it as soon as possible, again, like what I mentioned, because what you study is still fresh in your mind, and then you're just building up on that. Right? So in response to Azlia's question, thanks for that question. Good question.
Adding on to what Jin Yong has shared, because it's not my story, but what I've been hearing from our members, I've also heard on record high, meaning that there have been a few. I dare say a few, because I don't think that's a norm, but then we acknowledge people drive on exams. They literally took one after another and they passed on first attempt. Having said that, I've also come across some people that I won't say took their own sweet time, but at their own pace. It could be like one paper every year kind of pace, and they also passed. Again, it's very common to hear some of the charter holders that have failed one of the levels at least. So that's also very common. So I'm just sharing what I've heard so far, having joined the society here in the family. And this is where we also welcome volunteers. If you ever had the chance to attend any of our events, you can catch hold of our members, our board directors, the candidates, and gain their experience there. Oh, okay. And another question from Chris. Any special pathway to join CFA based on working experience? Okay, thanks, Chris. Working experience, because there are 3 methods. One of it, if of course you from a university angle, if you're a second-year student, you can. Then the other one would be when you graduate, you can start on the level 1. However, we also have the third criteria would be 4,000 professional working hours, meaning that relevant experience. So let's just say if you come from the asset management side, already doing some sort of analyzing or managing portfolios, I believe that would also, if you don't have the paper qualification, that would help you to get on that. Yeah. Do you want to add anything there?
I'd just like to say that there's no special pathway. I think anyone can join, as long as you have a degree or are working towards the degree, which I presume most of you here are. The other option, which Cindy mentioned, is if you don't have a degree, but you have the number of hours of work experience, is the other option. So the entry requirement, I think most of you will meet. The only question is this what you want to do? Right. So, but of course, having said that, the other part of working experience is, in order to get the charter, right, there's 2 things you need. Number 1 is, of course, passing all 3 levels of the exam. And after passing all 3 levels, you need to have that relevant work experience. So that relevant work experience can be while you're taking the exam. Say, for example, you're already in the industry and you sign up for this program. It can be after you have already passed all 3 levels, which is what I did. I took the exams first, then only I got a job in a bank in the relevant field. Then only I started collecting the number of the hours of experience. Or it can be you have worked for 5 years already and it is in the relevant field. For instance, you work in, I don't know, let's say debt capital markets, right? So that's definitely relevant. Then only take the exam. you pass the exam, so you meet both the exam requirement and the work experience requirement. And that leads to Ellie's question. My advice to fresh grad is take it immediately, again, because you just finished studying. Your studying engine is still warm. After you work for a few years, you have additional commitments, both work or personal. You may find it harder to actually spare the time to take up this exam, because 300 hours, I kid you not, is a lot, right? But it's well worth it. Oh yeah, thanks. Yes, this is a good slide to show. Oh, to answer Vicky, one at a time. So you got to enroll for level 1, you pass, then only you can go on to level 2. So it's sequentially.
Also adding on, let's just say if you pass level 1 this year, and you don't want to sit for the next level so soon, there is no expiry to that in terms of that gap. So you can, like, even in 2, 3, 4 years time, take level 2 or level 3. But like what Jin Yong said, don't sit too long on it, because while your memory and your brain is fresh, unless you are in the line of work, then yeah, and your work takes too much of your time, that one I can understand. But if you're not, but if you just want to get on that momentum, try not to delay. Yeah.
And to add to that, you may settle down, get married, have kids, then it becomes a huge challenge. Having said that, we have charter holders who actually, mothers who actually, during the course of the day, they gave birth to, I remember there was one who had 2 kids during the whole CFA journey. So I really respect those people. They are able to do that. Right. Okay. Another great question from Ira. So the thing is, the largest asset managers that you know in Malaysia, EPF, Club, right? They have actually made sustainable investment. So the term ESGs in different countries, they may use different terms for that. So in Malaysia, typically they will use the term sustainable investment or sustainable finance, right? But it is actually the same thing, it's just terminology. So the largest asset managers, asset owners in Malaysia have already made it an objective to embed ESG or sustainable finance into their investment decision-making process, which means to say that, hey, where they're going to invest in, where they're going to channel the money in, they will take into account sustainability factors or the ESG factors. So given that, the ESG certificate definitely has value in the eyes of these potential employers, right? So, of course, even the CFA program, the CFA charter itself, as I've illustrated just now, there is now increasing coverage given to how the ESG fits into the investment decision-making process, which is part of the CFA syllabus.
Okay, a question from Jane. What is your view on AI or data science background person taking CFA? Notice that the new syllabus starting next year will include hands-on module like Python and AI.
Jane, you're very well up to date. So yes, the thing is, as I mentioned earlier, actually or maybe I didn't specifically say, you don't necessarily need to be coming from the finance background to take this program, right? So it can, myself, I'm an engineer, I've seen lawyers take the CFA program, not the investment foundation. I've seen lawyers take it, I've seen people from the arts background take it, linguistic right? So definitely, if you are from AI or data science background, that would be even better, because increasingly the investment management industry is using all these latest tools to aid in the whole investment management process, which is why the CFA program has now included these hands-on modules they call practical, I forgot the exact term, right? Practical modules, whereby you actually have assignments that you need to do to complete. They're not part of the exam though, right? But they are part of the, and that will be for next year, if I recall correctly. So in order to get through the next level, you need to still sit for exam, pass it, and you need to do these practical assignments. It could be in programming using Python, or it could be also in AI, machine learning. So yes, definitely seriously consider taking it if your background is from that, because actually you can bring a lot of value to the whole investment decision-making process. Oh, that's great to hear, Ira, that you'll be also joining the 12th April session.
Actually, it's 18, but I'll share that shortly again.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one more question from Khairul Nizam. Do companies recognize level 1 CFA in case some people decided to stop after passing level 1? I can't speak on behalf of the companies here. However, just to share with you all, CFA Institute at a global level, they are, when I say recognizing, means they've acknowledged that there are some candidates that have taken up to level 1 who felt that it's sufficient enough for their line of work. So that's why they are encouraging as well what we call new level 1s, because there are some people out there that they don't want the whole level 3. So in that instance, safe to say, I can't speak on behalf of the companies here, but safe to say, it's still good to have, because there will be a digital badge for level 1 candidates that finish, who have already passed, that you guys can also use to your resume. And regardless, it's also a good thing to embark on, to have that foundation of the investment part, so that in time to come down the road, when you ever have fund managers managing your own investments and all that, you know, you can speak the term, you can understand what they're talking about and all. As long as you have interest in investments, yeah, I feel that level 1 itself, it's very useful to have. Anything you want to add, Jin Yong, from that angle? Because
no, you said it well enough.
Yeah, because I don't dare to say whether companies will recognize, but I believe in time to come they would, because in the finance industry, a lot of us out there, if we know that CFA program is not for everyone, it's not easy. So even to pass level 1 and not passing level 2 and 3, it's still a very good effort to recognize. Yeah.
Okay, perhaps I could add to that in the sense that this is again more from fresh graduate perspective, because if you're a fresh graduate, at most you will only have been able to pass level 1, right? So a lot of our candidates who have taken level 1, who used to be students in their final year, right? They obviously add that to their resume, and some of them have, according to them, they have been able to get the job because that was how they can demonstrate to their future employer that, hey, I have the skill sets, I have the understanding, I have the ability to be able to function on day 1, right? Of course, there are still other things that you need to learn in the job, but that itself is, I know it's anecdotal evidence, right? But that itself, I think, is good enough, because at the end of the day, it still depends on different companies' policy. They don't formally say that, oh, we will employ you only if you have level 1 CFA. On the other hand, there are a lot of employers, especially in the asset management firm, who actually say either they put CFA charter holders preferred or even required before that the person even applies for the job, right? So increasingly, there are more and more employers that actually put that, so the full CFA charter, obviously, not at level 1.
Yeah, especially the 20 employer partners that we have, they would recognize it.
Yes.
Okay, we have 3 minutes left. Should you all have any other questions, please, you can email us and all. But before we end today's session, I would like to share with you, and I think Ira, you beat us to it. I would like to share with all of you that in less than 2 weeks' time on the 18th, April at 12 o'clock, we are having another webinar on a conversation on CFA Institute Certificate in ESG Investing. How this came about is because, you know, yes, like we rightly put it, a lot of companies these days focusing on the sustainability and the ESG part, right, in the industry. So at the society level, we also have received quite a number of calls. And in recent weeks, a lot of them asking the relevance of our ESG certificate and whatnot. And then I thought about why not? So we have our 3 board of directors. One is already on screen. Jin Yong himself has taken he's a charter holder, has taken the ESG and investing cert, pass. And why, yeah, so this is a good platform for you all to hear directly from them, to see how it is, how has it worked for them. And so these 3 directors will be speaking in 2 weeks' time. They are the top 60. Yeah, so they're the top 60 in Malaysia that has taken the certificate, because right now in Malaysia we have about 60 plus only. So please do join us for all of you who've interested. Okay, so lastly, if you have not already followed us on our social medias, please do so at our Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Yep, so with that, I will end today's session. And on behalf of CFA Society Malaysia, I would like to thank Jin Yong and all of you again for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and week ahead. So till the next event, see you.